Hi, Federico. Welcome to
Hi,
BizTalk. That's my
hi,
big
Max.
pleasure. My great pleasure with you today with me. So
Thank
let's
you.
talk about yourself a little bit, who you are.
My name is Federico, and I was born in Rome, and I moved to Brussels when I was 11 years old, and I spent 20 years in Brussels. I'm a typical European. I don't feel Italian. I don't feel Belgian. I'm sort of mixed. And I started working just after high school. I went to university, and I dropped out of college in order to start my first company and in the renewable energy field. I loved it. But after a while, I decided that I wanted to do something more with my life, and from the investment side of the equation. So I launched my fund, and I run my fund for it's sort of a hedge fund for 6 years, and I did it. I loved it. But after a while, I started thinking about other things in life, and that's why I started Coffeehouse.
That's great. Thank you, Federico. So let's talk about more in details. Let's go.
So yes, the name of the company is Coffeehouse. I'm gonna tell you why immediately. Uh, I'm a big fan of the 18th century. I love science, I love business, and the Enlightenment. And that was an amazing historical period where a lot of things happened. And, our modern thought is shaped by what happened during the Enlightenment. And at that time, they had coffee houses and salons. And those were places where people used to gather and they talked about so many different topics. And the cool thing is that they launch intellectual revolutions in informal settings. And I think we lost a portion of this coffee house culture in the 21st century. And I kept telling my parents and my friends, you know what? I love to find a place where I can debate about stuff I read, about things I love. And so I said, you know what? We should launch, a revival of the coffee house culture, but this time using digital tools. And that's basically where the idea came from. But that was the initial phase. What happened next is that I decided to launch a quick MVP. It took a few months, and I started talking to users, and I realized, yes, people love to talk, they love to interact. Some of them are very lonely. They can't find places where they can have a good conversation on things they're interested in. But there is an additional huge problem, and that's about monetization. So coffee houses launched stock exchanges as well in the 18th century. But what I realized after a while is that people can't really monetize their social media activity apart from a few influencers or super creators. Passive users or normal people are not able to do that. It's super hard. Actually, we are exploited for our data without getting anything in return. So I said, you know what? I bet there are plenty of things that we can add to a social network like Coffeehouse to help people monetizing their social media activity. So that's why we introduced and added to the conversation element of Coffeehouse this CoffeeCoin tool that I will explain in a few slides. So that was the historical background, let's say, for coffee houses. So yes, that's our vision, finding a place where you can just jump in a room, start talking about stuff you love, and be able to make money out of it or have, the exposure to the upside that a lot of people don't have when they use traditional social networks. And why now? Obviously, the pandemic accelerated the need for some of these, tools that promote social interactions, including oral social interactions. And, I think social medias are out of date, especially on the monetization side. So there are many, many interesting tools that we can take from blockchain technology or other technologies and introduce them in the old school social medias and create a better cocktail. So yes, the problem, we just mentioned it. I think there are some perverse incentives that dominate social media. And the main one is about the fact that people really can't monetize easily. And it's important to, I think, combine this element of, giving tools for monetizing with a good social network that actually is running and that could promote interesting conversations. So the solution, and we're getting closer now to explaining the cocktail that we're promoting on Coffeehouse, is that we wanted to combine a real social network that includes video call or audio calls as well, with this possibility for our users to, after they talk to someone, to invest in that person, or after they join a cool room, to actually be exposed as an investor to the future of that room. For the moment, they can't do that. They can subscribe or they can make a donation, but they don't have a tool to become shareholders, let's say, in other people's reputations or in a room, or which, you can call it a room, we call it a salon. And that's for the moment, something that's missing. There's very little out there, including the blockchain community, that allows you to do that, especially if you introduce it into a social network. So what's this tool? So we have this traditional social network that basically where you can find cool rooms or events on stuff you're passionate about. But once you find those things, you'll be able to actually buy a coin that's linked to the reputation of these people. And the interesting thing that we have a lot of technologies now out there that are more mature that allow users to experience this investment side in other people's coins in a very user-friendly manner. So they'll be able to activate their coin, invest in other people's coins, and especially have liquidity for their coins. So those coins would be exposed to demand and supply. If a lot of people buy a coin of a popular room and you're an investor, you'll see obviously the prices of the coin going up, vice versa. If they sell it, it would go down. But the problem with a lot of tools is that they don't give liquidity to a user. What if they want to liquidate their position? They want to sell their coins of a cool room they have invested in. And thanks to blockchain technology now, we can create automated market systems that basically create a guaranteed liquidity for people to be able to exit. After they're bored, they want to have some cash, they can do that. So we combine this social media, social network element with this CoffeeCoin tool that allows you to invest in people and to have liquidity. So the interesting thing is when you add this CoffeeCoin or this investment tool in a social network, is that incentives are drastically different compared to a traditional social network. Imagine if you have invested in the coin, or if you launch your own coin, you'll be very incentivized to invite your friends, as not only you want to talk to them, you want to share cool content with them, but you will have an economic incentive to invite them because they could buy your coin or invest in the coin of a room where you're an investor. So you will have this additional upside that's missing right now that will allow people to have an extra motivation factor for spreading the word and inviting their people, their friends or their communities online. And imagine the typical creator has a few tools right now, very limited amount of tools to monetize. But a passive creator like me, I don't spend like hours creating content on social media. I consume it like 99% of the people. They're passive consumers of content on social media. From time to time, they write a post maybe, or they participate in an event, but they're passive. And what about these people? They can never monetize or make a dime out of their social media experience. In this case, by becoming investors, they will have that exposure to an upside that they don't have for the moment. And the incentives, again, going back to old school incentives, they will be incentivized, of course, to share with their people, with their friends, what's going on in a social network like Coffeehouse. They have this economic incentive. And moderation is another big problem for social networks. We won't be able to solve every single moderation problem, for sure. We're thinking a lot about that. We're trying to implement cool things to automate some processes. But if you have an economic incentive by being an investor in something, you'll be very careful to moderate your room or to invite the the right type of person to that community. As if they they start trolling, if they start messing around, you will not just have a bad experience, you might lose money as an investor, as the price of the coin could go down, as a lot of people will feel disgusted by what's going on in the room, and they will sell it. So that creates, again, an additional incentive for moderating rooms. It will not solve all the problems again, but it would be an additional extra kick for moderating what's going on the social network. User journey, so people would just sign up. They can jump and participate in a room. Again, we don't want to promote speculation here. Some people will speculate. We already know that. And by speculating, I mean they would just buy and sell coins based on nothing, based on price, trends, or whatever. Our goal is to promote cool conversations and fascinating interactions. So now we're getting to a few things that we'll add in order to promote that. But as soon as you find a cool room, you can jump in a conversation, meet new people, or interact with with your friends. And after a while, you can decide to purchase their coins or to activate yours and become tradable on the platform. After a while, if you want to sell the coins, you can do that. We have unlimited or guaranteed liquidity. So those are the basic steps that people will have to take in order to sign up and sell a coin after they have interacted with the communities that they're investing in. So business model, we thought a lot about that because obviously a lot of social networks don't have a business model in the beginning. They're trying to create a network effect and then sell ads. We don't want to do that at all. But obviously we need to keep the things running. So we have a couple of approaches that we think make a lot of sense here. The first thing, they're based on transaction fees, but as we call it, non-invasive transaction fees. The first fee is, as we want to incentivize people to invest for the long term, we will charge an exit fee when they will sell a coin. So I like your room, Max. I have invested in you. I bought your coin. And after a while, I want to sell it. Coffeehouse will charge you a very small transaction fee only when you sell the coin. And the longer your holding period, the smaller the fee. So if you sell after a week, the fee will be a little higher. If you sell after 2 months, it will be way lower. In order to, a little bit like the tax system when you invest in stocks, a little bit like that. In order to avoid short-term gains, people, keep maybe stocks for long term and they're, tax capital gains with a lower tax rate. That's kind of similar. And the second fee that we're going to add is a fee on profits made by people who sell. So if you ever make a profit by selling a coin, you bought it at $10, you sell it at $20, we'll take a little fee, profit fee, a little bit like the hedge fund model. I used to run a hedge fund, so I'm very familiar with it. And if you make a profit, you share a portion, a very small amount of that profit with us. And I think it would be easier to justify. It would be more fair for the users. And it would be a good compromise for everyone involved. And as you can see at the bottom of the slide, there are other ideas that we have for the future. We won't launch these ideas right now. We have some priorities first, and we're planning to launch an index fund that basically allows people to invest in every coin on Coffeehouse. And we can charge fees for that. Basically, we're like becoming an index fund or a mutual fund that helps people. You don't have the time to pick every room, every creator, but you still like the project. You want to, promote or support the creators economy. How can you do that? For the moment, you can. You have to manually select the coins you want to invest in. We might add this extra service for users in the future. And there are many other things that I won't go into, as those things are for the future. But just to let you guys know that there's so much flexibility. Once you have a coin-based system integrated into the platform, you can really apply on the top of it so many different layers for creating a lot of things, selling virtual goods and so on. But we'll focus on the 2 transaction fees in the beginning. So who's interested? So we already have a long waiting list of people and communities who are waiting for us to launch. And most of them, we want to focus the so-called intellectual community. It's a very broad definition. I'm aware of that. But we're interested in promoting good, high quality conversations, especially in the beginning. So we are in touch with thousands of book clubs, science clubs, investment or crypto clubs, and intellectual influencers, and so on. And those people are actively looking for a place where they can, interact with like-minded individuals, and with this additional sweetener, where they can they can actually monetize now all the activity that they normally, run on, I don't know, web WhatsApp channels, or sometimes on Discord, and they want to migrate in a place where they can have this cocktail that we just described. So yes, that's interesting. We did a lot of research for understanding text-based communities, and we're focusing on text-based communities because those communities are already looking for extra tools to interact with their communities. And by extra tools, I mean, video calls, audio calls. They like the format. They want to add it to what they have right now. And plus they're looking for monetization schemes. So those communities are huge. We did a lot of surveys. We're actually sending a new survey right now in these days. We sent it yesterday. And in order to understand what's the conversion rate for those people to at least give a shot and try Coffeehouse and try to migrate into a new platform, or at least spend time on it, taking care of some of their activities, maybe not all their social activities. And the response was overwhelming, a lot in a positive way. A lot of them said, they're interested. We use a conservative figure here, a 5% conversion rate. And of course, those rates are very, very hard to calculate. So there's no way to tell how many people will, from all those existing communities, will, jump on Coffeehouse. But I think a 5% conversion rate could be a good starting point. We're very ambitious, so we hope it's going to be higher. And that translates into, dozens of millions of users. That's our goal, and hopefully even more. And especially frustrated users of platforms where they are exploited for their amazing content, rather than, being able to make money out of it. And especially for passive users like me, who have no way to, I could go Patreon and donate money or subscribe to a channel for learning ukulele. But if that channel becomes very popular, I have no way of benefiting from that. No way to benefit from being an early backer, an early investor in a cool channel or a cool community. So there are a lot of people who are frustrated right now, and we're trying to solve this pain for them. Go to market plan. We already have a waiting list, and we are adding a lot of people to the waiting list. Actually, we're launching a new one because the old one was a little too, it wasn't well designed. So the biggest factor here is, yes, every day I talk to intellectual communities, to meetup groups, to Discord channels, to bring them on or to make them sign up to our waiting list. But that's very mechanical. That's very inefficient. The best way is to automize these things and to create virality. How will we do that? There are a couple of things that we're preparing, but the main thing is, again, the power of incentives. People will be able to send coins to their friends. People will have an incentive to bring them on and just, maybe look at what they're doing on Coffeehouse, as there is this element of potential investment that will benefit them immediately as the prices of the coin will go up if a lot of people will buy them. So I think that playing with these incentives, it's something that it's healthy, because, people will have, be very careful about, they won't spam around their room, as they know if they do that, a lot of people will start selling the coin. They won't be happy about the atmosphere that will be breathed in that room. So I think it's a good psychological incentive for people to create virality on a platform like that. We're also adding a few extra tricks, but that is the most powerful one. I think, you can actually make money if people buy your coins or coins in the room you have invested. So, and it would be easy to invite. We already have an invite tool and easy to send coins to people. Imagine if, Max, I send you a coin of a room of mine, you will have a economic good waiting for you if you sign up to the platform. Even if you just sign up and then you leave because you hate Coffeehouse, let's say, but you will have this incentive. I hope that won't be the case, obviously, but you will have this incentive to at least check it out, as there's something valuable that could be translated into dollars or fiat currency that's waiting for you. We're almost done here. So where are we now? I had this MVP created with the help of external developers in order to test the waters at the market, and the response was very positive. So I decided to quit my job, my investment management job, and dedicate full time to Coffeehouse a few months ago. The cool thing is it took a while, but now I have a great team. I'm going to show you the slide of the team later. And we are now redesigning everything. What you see right now is going to be completely different. Now, we use that landing page in order to test the waters. That's all. We are completely redesigning everything, and we're now in a phase where we are building the new redesigned platform, and we are deploying the Coffeehouse tool for our users. So it will take, it depends on our resources, obviously. We can speed it up if we can hire more people. But with the current team, we think maybe a month and a half or something like that, we'll be able to open up the platform with the new features to the public, hopefully even sooner than that. But we need to be very careful. When money is involved, we have to be extra careful that even if we open up to just a few thousand people, the experience has to be good and secure. So that's the extra time that we're investing in, make it very secure. Funding, so in the end, our main costs are related to AWS, basically, and to salaries. And we are hosting video calls, and that's expensive. So we are trying to optimize what we have for the moment, but we can't have economies of scale easily in these early phases. So in order to open up the platform to a lot of users, that's going to be our main cost. The good thing, it's a variable cost. It depends on the number of users. So we won't need a lot of upfront investments. And we were thinking about raising around 500,000 euros that will allow us to more or less host on our platform around 400,000 people. It's like a cost of €1 per person, per user. But that cost would go down pretty quickly in the future as we scale up. Of course, if you have AWS credits or similar types of perks, it will be even, we won't need 400,000, even less. And it's basically linked to the number of users. We love, if we raise 2 million euros, we'll immediately be able to, host on our platform many more people. So that's the thing. But we can take it gradually. That's the interesting thing about this model. We don't need, 2 million upfront and then, hope for the best. We can gradually receive cash injections and test the market like that. Last thing, competitors. So there are a few competitors here. I think the most interesting competitor is BitCloud, which is not very well known. It's only known in the Bitcoin community. And it's the only platform, basically, that offers a social network with an element of investing in people you admire. I think it's not a good experience. It's a typical crypto platform. I love crypto, but it's not user-friendly. We're trying to bring a bridge here between this elite and technical community, that's the blockchain community, and the rest of the world. So in terms of user experience, something like BitCloud, it's very complex. So what we're doing here is really drastically reducing the barriers for people who are not, blockchain experts or financial experts to adopt something like that. It should be as easy as buying a pair of shoes on Amazon. A few clicks, I can invest in a room I admire. A few clicks, I can sell my investment. That's all. Clubhouse and Discord are interesting platforms, of course, but they don't have the element of investing in people. They have the element of, creating rooms, participating in conversations. I like that aspect, but they totally miss this investment side. You can tip people, or you can buy virtual goods on Discord, but you can't invest in a community you like. And that's what they're missing. It's a major element that they're missing. So yeah, competitive advantage, already mentioned that. It's especially linked to this new model. And no other social network has it. And then we have a good, relationships, and we're trying to promote, real conversations. So we limit the amount of people who participate in the conversation. And we have a few, tricks in our sleeves that could be useful. But the main one is, again, this powerful incentive that we created on top of the social network. The team, so yes, as I mentioned, finally, after a few months of struggling, I have found an amazing team. Some of them are based in Italy. Actually, 3 of us are Italian. Melis, the UX designer, is Turkish, but she lives in Italy. And the other 2 are from India, and they're great developers. And we're, in these days, adding more people to the team. For the moment, I'm giving them a little cash and a little equity, but I'm the majority shareholder. I hold more than 90% of the shares. So they have accepted to work for Coffeehouse, basically for nothing. But obviously, I'm giving them a lot of perks, a lot of things in the future. But they're very passionate about their project, and they're basically full-time on it. So that's the best thing. They don't have a lot of other things in their life for the moment, and they love Coffeehouse. And we created a great team, but we're adding people to the team. And that's all.
Thank you, Federico. I mean, very exciting and it's not that easy to find this kind of project. I mean, I need a day to start, asking questions and talking about this, but we don't have that much time. So we need to stay in between 5-10 minutes more. So let me start to different questions, but pretty much related to one to the other ones. So let's say, first of all, how you are creating what is a digital salon, let me say, where people can interact. Now there are platforms, as you mentioned, as competitors. They can interact via messages, writing, or talking, or video. How they interact in your platform. And the other question is, how do they create value when it comes to coins? Because we know that crypto is not that much in underlining value and asset, because almost there is no asset at all. But in your case, if I'm joining your community, let's say your salon, your digital salon, and I want to issue my coin, okay, Max Coin. Max Coin is based on what? How the value can be created, how you trade inside the room, and how you manage liquidity.
Absolutely, that's a great question. That's the trick, actually, that we bring into to the table here. If you find a good room, let's say Max's room, your salon, to talk about business or investing, you can activate your coin. So the Max's salon coin. And you'll invite people to the room. Some people will just discover you with our discovery tool, and they will start reading what you post. They will start jumping in the conversation and participate to some oral conversations that you will promote and organize. And after a while, you say, you know what, I like Max's salon. What can I do with it? They will be able to, if you activated it, they will be able to buy the coin of the salon. How does that work? Those are called bonding curves. The technical infrastructure behind it, users won't see that because it's too complex for them to understand, well, for a non-tech guy to understand. But the cool thing is that bonding curves create so-called automated market systems. What does that mean? Every time someone buys a Max coin, the system, the smart contract in this case, will create a coin that will have a value of 1. It depends on the price algorithm that we'll pick. We'll pick a price algorithm. Once you have this coin created, because one investor bought one coin, what happens when a new investor comes in? The new investor will want to buy a coin. The system will create a second coin that will have a higher price compared to the first one. Where does the money go is the question. If I paid $1 for the first coin, the second investor pays $1.50, let's say, for the second coin, what happens to those dollars? The cool thing is that we don't use these dollars to give it to the creator of the room or to take them for themselves, for ourselves. We create a reserve with these dollars, which is called like a liquidity pool, that will be released every time a person will sell a coin. So if investor number 2 decides, you know what, I want to sell my coin, I want to get my dollars back, they will sell their coin, but the price, as they're selling the coin, they will have a pricing pressure on the price, will go a little lower and will match the reserve that we'll have created for that room, for that coin. So you always have enough reserves for creating liquidity, and every time you invest, you mint a new coin. Every time you sell it, the price of the coin would go lower, and the coins would get destroyed, as they call it in the industry.
You're telling me the value of the coins goes up when you buy, it goes down when you sell, right? Which is pretty much how the market works. But when it comes to reserve and liquidity, the bottom price should match your liquidity.
Sorry? Yeah, exactly. Every time someone will sell, the price will be readjusted in order to always match the liquidity that was aggregated into the liquidity pool and the price of the coin for that moment in time. If people will keep selling it, the price of the coin will go down. The liquidity will always match what's the price times the volume of coins. It will always match that. And we can pick different systems.
Let me ask you one question. Why cannot go down? Let's say if I'm buying for £1 and we reach maybe 1,000 for that amount of pound, right? And people start selling, and why the price should not go down the initial price and creating some extra money for your company?
The price will go down, absolutely. If people will start selling it, the price will go down. The interesting thing, there would never be a mismatch between the liquidity pool and the price times the volume. It will go down. And the rapidity with which it will go down or up is determined by the so-called bonding curve, which is just an algorithm that determines how much will the price go up or down every time someone buys or every time someone sells. And it's decided up front.
What about
all the money will be put in reserve?
What about the exchange rate? How do you exchange money? And again, what about license?
Yeah, 2 good questions. Exchange rate, if we keep one type of coin, the coffee coin, let's say Max Salons coin, and dollars, so just two currencies, there won't be any major problems in terms of exchange rate. No problem. If we add multiple currencies, that's where it gets tricky. And we'll have to have a multivariate bonding curve, or a bonding curve that allows you to trade multiple coins. And we're planning to add that as well. For the moment, we'll start easily with just one, to avoid all these currency mismatches and potential currency fluctuations. So we'll start with easy coin, well, let's say dollar. We'd probably pick the dollar, US dollar, and the other coin, your coin. In terms of security licenses, it's the Wild West, Max. We're reading a lot about it. Are we going to be treated like a financial institution, or maybe like a company that promises profits? instead of utility, let's say. And for the moment, the answer is no, we are not. But you never know, and these things are moving very fast. So for the moment, we don't need a financial authority license or whatever in order to offer users on a social platforms the potential to trade coins in that platform. We're not offering them dividends or our equity, our shares. So it's buying the reputation of other people. It's something that's not regulated for the moment, which is interesting. It's kind of scary because you never know what's going to happen in these things. And for the moment, no, we won't have any license to buy or to follow. But who knows? Maybe in a year, yes. Because
you're right. You're right, and this is something in great development, and everything changed day by day. That's crypto, and yeah, I mean it's a very uncharted territory, still very young, so we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. But where do you see your company? I mean, you are still in concept stage. You're getting on board the first, and you're developing the new interface and your new platform. Where do you see your coffee house in 2 or 3 years' time?
Look, I did this more than for the investment side because I suffer from a problem, intellectual loneliness. I can't find people with whom I can have a lot of interactions about stuff I love. I see Coffeehouse in the future where in 3 years, let's say, I can open my app or open my laptop and immediately find a nice community with whom I can just talk and not just maybe write a post and hope, that it will answer me. I see a lot, and that's created by people on the platform, obviously. It's like the so-called network effect. In addition to that, I have a lot of cool friends and people that I really admire. But unless I invest in their companies, which is not easy, obviously, and some of them don't have companies, they work in academia, and I love to find a way to back these people and maybe to profit, from that. I don't think people should put their savings into something like that, like CoffeeCoin or Coffeehouse. Instead of going to the restaurant, you say, you know what? I like this person. I have amazing conversation with him or her. Let me, find a way to maybe profit from that. Maybe I will lose the money, but who cares? It's just, tipping them. But instead of tipping them, I can make money. So I see Coffeehouse in 3 years as a place where I wake up in the morning, I feel either lonely or bored, and I say, you know what? I want to talk about the new book I just read. Where can I go? I can find a place where I can immediately find this cool conversations or people interested in the book I read. And at the same time, maybe some of these people or some of these communities are very interesting. And I tell to myself, you know what, Federico? Maybe you should put, $20 and buy the coin of these rooms because maybe, you can make a little money. You can support them. And it's a cool way to, participate in the community. So that's where I see it, like a very large community where you can do these two things.
I mean, I do agree. People buy and sell digital art. Why they should not buy reputation? I mean, there is no difference at all. Actually,
they buy unicorns, like digital unicorns. They should buy, yeah.
It's more real reputation, right? When you talk to someone than digital art, which is just a copy.
And Max, just one thing I wanted to add on that. I think that I told another person. For the moment, how do you generate your social clout? By having likes, followers, people who, tip you. And those are all signals that we give to society that tell, that person might be an interesting person or a good person. Those are not perfect signals. Adding to the likes, to the number of followers, an element where there is a monetary value on you could be an additional, non-precise, but an additional signal to the word of how much are you basically worth. Instead of having thousands of followers, maybe your coin is very expensive, let's say. It means a lot of people bought it. It means that a lot of people believe in you. It's not perfect. We can calculate the intrinsic value of a person. There's no way to do that. But it's a good tool, an additional tool.
Do you know what? I do believe it's a good way to understand how it's worth your reputation.
Exactly. It's an additional way. You have your LinkedIn profile and you have your coin as well. That could be, an additional, and I see that, yeah.
That's a very interesting and, let's say, funny in a way. It's very enjoying way to think about reputation and interaction. It's very nice. Let me close with two questions. The first one, I'm very much enjoying this talk, but we have a limited time, unfortunately. Let me close with who is exactly your target in terms of users and why someone should give you the money to invest in Coffeehouse.
Absolutely. Users, as we mentioned, we start not with the blockchain community, even though a lot of them are interested, obviously, in this, but we don't want to appeal just to them. It's too niche, they're used to complex tools. So our target is the broader masses, but we got to start somewhere. And we're starting with book clubs, science clubs, and business clubs. Those are all online groups or sometimes offline communities that already have an interest in debating with people, in exchanging ideas, but they have limited tools. So that's our target audience for the moment. It includes the crypto community, of course, but it's just a piece of the puzzle. The rest are the masses, but basically more intellectually bended type of people. But that's, if a YouTube creator that talks about, I don't know, cookies wants to join the platform, that's fine. I mean, we're not going to tell him no. But in terms of marketing effort, that's not going to be our main target, let's say, in the beginning. And why should people invest? If you think about the quickness with which some of these platforms could generate value, and value is determined by the amount of people who use them and the engagement rates that they have on the platform. We think that, of course, the probability of becoming one of those platforms is not high, so that's obviously always the case when you do startups. But in terms of how you value Coffeehouse, I think there's the element of how many people will use it, and we touched upon that. The market is huge. We'll see how many people will be able to convert into active users. But there is the economic incentive that will help us, I think, attracting a lot of people. But the other element is engagement. So if there are a lot of users who are very engaged, the valuation could be enormous. And how can you measure engagement? We have plenty of metrics, but in the end, if you add the element of investing, people will go back to the platform more often. If you just keep the element, I want to talk to those people, I want to read some posts or scroll my feed. Yes, there could be engagement, but I think it's a lower type of engagement, lower quality engagement compared to, yes, I'm going to talk to people. Yes, I'm going to read posts, but you know what? I'm going to check my portfolio as well. And you will be able to do that. And, we don't want to make it addictive. That's not our goal. But we know that when there is an element of investing involved, people tend to engage with it a lot. Not always in a healthy way. So we got to be careful with that. But if you take the pillar in terms of valuation of engagement, apart from the number of users, the engagement rate could be very, very powerful here compared to a typical, Instagram or a typical social network.
Thank you, Federico. It's been a very, very nice talk, and I do like what you're doing, and
Thanks,
we can have further talks. And again, thank you very much, and all the best to your venture.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.